do your best to like really be present and enjoy the time because it happens really fast.
Welcome back to the Illuminated Path. This is episode 67. What are we talking about today?
So with the holidays just around the corner already, I wanted to do a kind of more fun episode on 5 tips to manage stress around the holidays.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Not going to do How's the Week because it's been like 5 minutes for us, but I did change my hat for you guys. So if you're on YouTube, I'm rocking a different color now.
The important things.
The important things.
Oh, goodness.
All right. Why don't you start us off?
So, I mean, we love the holidays, but there's a very real part of it that it can be very stressful, more so for some people more than others, around financial situations or family situations. So it doesn't have to be so crazy. And I think that it's kind of sad that it's gotten to that point because I think a lot of it has to do with like the whole societal perception of Christmas and like it becoming this big, like, spend a bunch of money and get all these gifts thing. So I wanted to just like offer some tips of ways to take a step back, simplify things a little bit, and manage your stress a little bit through the holiday season.
Yeah. So what's number 1?
Set boundaries. And this one can go for many, many things.
Yeah.
But the few things that came to mind when I was talking about or thinking about discussing setting boundaries is saying no to things that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
That might be having to say no to a holiday party you're invited to. There's just so many like events and stuff that can be happening around the holidays.
Well, the big thing now too is like you don't have to hug people if you don't want to hug them.
That's another one.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that you can say no to. And yes, there's like that part of you that might feel guilty for it, but set the boundary if that's what's going to bring you peace. You don't have to be at every single thing. You just don't. Like, you're not a superhuman. You need time for yourself. You need rest. And if your schedule is getting chaotic, figure out what you can say no to and step away and do that for yourself.
Yeah, and I think, setting boundaries too, it could also just be topics of conversation. Like some of the people in my life that I'm closest to, there's certain things I won't talk about with them.
Mhm.
And I don't think that, I think for a while I saw that as like, oh, I don't, you know, I've got to dance around this, but I really just see it as like a way of keeping the peace and understanding and agreeing on your differences, and respecting that you're just different people. Um, I also think, setting boundaries can come in the form of, I think people do host a lot during the holidays and like, maybe sometimes there's some surprise invites and like, if you've got to be like, look, I, this is the room I have, this is the number of people I can host. I feel like that's something that comes up. So I think that especially around the holidays, it's so much about family. It's a time more than ever to honor yourself. And I think that that gets lost in the noise of celebrating with family.
Yeah, so you can actually show up as your best self
Right.
to actually enjoy the experience with your family. Because if you're just completely stressed out and you're like, oh, yay, family time, but you're actually freaking out internally, then the misses the whole point.
Yeah. Like we know people who will host and the entire process from start to finish is stressful as hell
Hmm.
to see and be around and watch and everything. So I think, yeah, setting boundaries is huge, especially around the holidays. And I think we always say this, right? But it is like prioritizing yourself too. And it's not about being selfish. It's about you taking care of yourself so that you can be present and take care of others.
Yeah, and another just final thing I want to say about boundaries, because a big stressful thing around the holidays, like I mentioned, is the financial aspect and thinking you need to buy everyone a freaking gift.
Mm,
John and I decided this year that we weren't doing gifts.
Yeah.
We're going to buy a gift for our niece because it's her first Christmas and I'm beyond excited to buy a gift for her. But other than that, like we told both of our families, our parents, our siblings, we're not doing gifts this year. We just had a wedding that we just paid for. We had a honeymoon. And it's not necessarily like, oh my gosh, we can't afford it because you and I don't
Right.
like think in that way. But it's the stress of, okay, I got to buy this person. Oh, I didn't spend enough on this person. I got to, like, it's just so much. And I feel like
Yeah.
with the age we're at, I don't really desire to get gifts from people anymore or buy gifts. Like, I just want the time.
Right.
And it's so much less stressful for me to enjoy that time if I'm not worried about, did I get the person the right gift? Did I spend enough money on them or
Yeah.
whatever it is?
I,
Like, I just don't see the point. So don't be afraid to say, like, look, I'm not doing gifts this year. Sorry.
yeah. And I think, context, I love giving gifts. I absolutely love it. And I love surprising people. I love being able to find a thoughtful gift, whatever. But when you asked me this year, I was like, you know what? I think that would be good for us. And honestly, it wasn't even a financial consideration. It was really that I realized in the past 2, 3 years, every Black Friday, Cyber Monday has been about dropping 1 to 2 grand on gifts for everyone. Did I get this gift? Did I get that gift? In addition to the fact that we refill like our air filters, our water filters, and all the stuff for our house, our, not really cosmetic. What's the word I'm looking for? Like toiletries, like shampoos, conditioners. Like we refill
Right,
everything.
because it's like I'm gonna take advantage of the sale on things that I
Right.
need anyways.
Right. So we wait till that moment to stock up. And then it's like we're doing that in addition to getting everybody all these gifts. And I felt like so much of this time of year became about the gifts. And I could not care less. I genuinely like, yes, I love to give gifts, but I also care far more about having the quality time with my family.
Right.
So,
And then we're spending how much time like researching stuff to buy
right.
people and
And then it was
oh
also like we're talking like $30 to $50 gifts for every person. And that's the other thing is like, frankly, for 30 to $50 and what, maybe 5, 10, I can spend that money on myself. Like, no, thank you. I'm good. But also, I don't want, because a lot of times too on Christmas, it's so rushed of like, open the gifts and then we're going to do, our meal and whatever. And I just felt like it was so much coordinating about who was going to buy someone what. And I'm like, I'm stepping out this year. Like, I don't think that this is really adding to the experience of the holidays.
yeah.
So I'm glad we did that. But yeah, like you said, I felt like for our niece, like, hell yeah, I'm going to get her a gift. But I don't think I need to buy grown adults gifts. Like,
No, everybody's capable of buying themselves what they want. And it's
right,
just like I'm spending $50 on you for you to spend $50 on me. It's like, what's the
right.
point?
Let's
It's
skip the BS and I'll buy what I want. You buy what you want.
know that you're getting exactly what you
Yeah.
want and it's good to go.
So long
Anyways,
way of saying set boundaries.
yeah.
Setting boundaries on the holidays can be huge. What's next?
Um, prioritizing your well-being. And this has to do with many things, but I wanted to focus on, making sure you're not going overboard with like the sweets and the
Mm,
alcohol and eating bad and like I said, like there might be a lot of festivities and parties and places to go and I'm not saying like don't enjoy any of it and just be so strict and stick to your diet, whatever that is. But like don't overindulge to the point where you are now not feeling well.
yeah.
You have to prioritize yourself. Like, I didn't have dessert on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Okay. I was so full
Yeah.
after our meal. And as badly as I wanted to like have a cookie, and I probably could have just taken one home, but
Don't
I
worry,
didn't.
guys. I crushed the cookies.
I knew for myself, I was like, I'm going to make myself sick
Yep.
and I would rather feel better. Like
Right.
to me, the way I feel is more important than having the sweet treat. So it is what it is. And I'll continue to do that throughout any, festivities because we do have some things coming up. and I'm going to eat what I want to eat. I'm going to say no to things. And I'm not going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to do it or I'm missing out. Like, don't feel like you're missing out just because you decided to just say no to having something.
I mean, it's the same conversation, right? Like, find balance. Don't overindulge to the point where you're sick, but obviously be human and it comes around once a year. But
The reality is that like this is like prime time for people to get sick, and
that's what I was going to say.
the
Yeah.
sugar and the alcohol are a huge contributor to that.
Well, there's a couple experts now talking about this of, we call it flu season, but you have uh
Halloween.
you're spiking your glucose like crazy around Halloween. You've got Thanksgiving where people are getting crazy drunk and stuffing themselves with turkey and mashed potatoes and everything else. And you got Christmas where we're eating the candy canes and the chocolate and the sugar. And then you got New Year's where we're getting drunk like crazy. And they're saying like we don't have a flu season, we have a sugar poisoning season.
Yeah.
And, couple that in with what the alcohol is doing to your mental state. Like, of course, you're not feeling well. So
Yeah.
I think keep that in mind too. Like, if you really took a look at your sugar and alcohol intake from like October to New Year's, just kind of dwell on that for a second. Like, if you're not feeling well, or you're feeling unmotivated or whatever it is, like maybe look at that.
Yeah. And with that, in terms of prioritizing your well-being, it's about what you consume, but it's about also like keeping with your routine, getting movement in. If stick to your exercise routine. Like some people will be like between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it just feels chaotic. Like,
Mm,
and it's this short time, and people just like completely fall off of getting in some form of movement or, sticking to their sleep schedule or whatever it may be. And that just makes you feel worse.
yeah, I think it's really important, especially around the holidays, to keep your body moving. I mean, even after like Thanksgiving, it was raining and we were really upset we weren't going to be able to go for a walk.
Oh, I wanted to walk so bad because I was
Yeah.
so full and it was pouring out.
Yeah. So it, it helps obviously those spikes in blood glucose, but it helps a lot of things, especially, you know, mentally when you're off and you're getting movement. And, we've talked about how good that is for your brain and all kinds of your immune system, everything. So even if it's only as simple as going for a walk, I always say like those 5, 6, what is it, 6 days, 5 days between Christmas and New Year's.
Mm.
I was like, those don't exist.
Mm.
But you at least go for a walk or get some form of movement because
Yeah.
it will help you not only in feeling sluggish, frankly, but also for what you're about to do on New Year's.
Yeah, I mean, this is all part of managing stress in a regular, you know, time of year. So if you're trying to manage your stress bet- for the holidays, it's even more important to stick to these things. Get your movement in, do a little breath work, do a meditation, listen to a guided meditation. Like when you're feeling that stress, tend to yourself
Yeah.
and give yourself something to help you actually move through that so that you can make the holidays less stressful.
And I will also make the point, I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, I don't have the time for it. Most people have more time around the holidays. They're working less, they have more time off. And again, little breath work's still only going to take you 2 to 5 minutes. So,
Right. But it feels like that because we're focused on the party we have to
and
plan
the
or the
gifts and the
gift I have to
sales
get.
and hosting and yeah,
Yeah. So realize where those feelings and thoughts are coming from and be like, no, I actually need to do this for myself.
right.
Um, yeah. Next one is express your feelings.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, people have struggles around seeing family, or maybe they don't have the opportunity to see family because of certain situations or circumstances. And it can be a time of year where more feelings can come up
Yeah.
because it's hard. And so I just wanted to mention like express your feelings because it's not healthy to keep things in. So whether that is talking to someone, a friend or a family member or a therapist of some sort, Journaling, getting your feelings out, or like taking care of yourself, like prioritizing your well-being, like we were talking about before, and just getting those emotions out. Like, don't let them sit stagnant. Go for walks. Do things to help yourself cope with these feelings that are coming up rather than stuffing them down, because that's going to just feel worse.
Yeah, and I'll also make the point that drinking is not addressing your feelings.
No, I.
Yeah.
There's so many things I could get into with that, and I know we have in the past, but it's not a coping strategy. It's
No.
not. It makes you feel worse.
They've studied this. It ruins your baseline. It's going to give you worse rebound anxiety. It's going to increase depression
It
across the board. It's
it
not going to do you well in the long run.
no, it just makes me upset that as a society we tell people cope with it.
Yeah.
No, it's not actually helping you cope. It's making it worse. So
Yeah.
anyways, don't do that. I'm not saying you can't have a glass of wine or whatever you want to do, even though we don't drink anymore for many reasons. Um, but that is not going to help you. So don't believe that or try to tell yourself something that is
Yeah.
very much not going to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else on express your feelings?
No, I think, and the reason I say that is because I think we talk about expressing your feelings. It's kind of the same conversation as last episode. Like, you need to decide what your feelings are and know, you know. Um, I think a lot of uncomfortable feelings can come up around the holidays, around different family and friends, and especially being around family that you have trauma from. So there's a lot of things that can come up there. I think it's really just be willing to address the uncomfortable and handle it as best you can.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying you've got to be happy go lucky about everything and super stoked to see everyone, but it also doesn't mean that it can't be cordial.
Right. Number 4 is ask for help. You kind of started mentioning this before, but my thought process for this was just ask, like, if you're hosting something or you are being expected to contribute to something in some way and it's a lot and it's feeling overwhelming, ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta say, the
Yeah.
difference between my family and your family is
Yeah.
that my family, everybody takes a dish. So we show up to any holiday. So for Christmas, it'll be like whoever's hosting typically makes the main meal and like maybe one other thing. And everyone else who's attending brings a dish, an appetizer, a side dish, a dessert,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Because if you are hosting, it's already stressful enough to like make sure the house is all clean and prepared, and then you're buying the food for everyone, setting all the tables, like
Yeah.
whatever. And then you're supposed to make every single dish.
No,
Then your family, just like whoever's hosting, makes everything.
yeah. And
And
it's
to me,
like,
I've always grown up with the everybody bring a dish. So when I first learned that your family did that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so stressful for those poor people hosting.
right. And so, like, going to your family, I've always been like, that makes so much sense because it's so easy, right? And like a lot of times they give us the vegetables and we're like, yeah, sure, we'll cook some vegetables. We got a big pan. It's the easiest thing in the world, right? And it feels good knowing you're showing up and bringing something that people actually want.
Mhm.
With my family, it's and also like since I've been around your family, I've tried to do this with my family and be like, "Hey,
What can I
I'll
bring?
bring something," right? And they're always like, "No. No, don't bring anything."
We did bring sourdough to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, sourdough amongst a bunch of Portuguese was absolutely gonna be a hit. Um, so, I've tried now to bring stuff around my family and they just won't have it. So, I think it's been fascinating to see like both sides of the spectrum of like your family, everybody brings a dish, it's not stressful. The hosts really just make sure, people don't need new glasses or whatever, right? Like the basic hosting thing. My family is like show up and it's just chaos. And if you brought something, it's probably something that people either A, don't want, or B, it's just getting washed out in the sea of extra stuff that they have because my family insists on hosting and God forbid they don't want to run out of something. So there's like 3 cakes for like 4 people. So I think it's been crazy to see both sides of the spectrum. But yes, absolutely ask for help. And I don't get why my parents refuse, but like I think that a little goes a long way, like to have us do the veggies and show up and someone else brought an appetizer and then, your parents just had to worry about like, one main thing. It, it's it removes so much of the stress for everyone involved because the thing is like I love my parents, my family, love it, but like when we show up and they have insisted on hosting, we can't bring anything, and it's like they've got these elaborate cheese boards and everything they got to put out, but they're so stressed.
Yeah. It's
They're
amazing
so
that you can
stressed.
feel the stress like emanating from them.
Right. And it's like, then, and then you show up and they're really stressed and it's stressing other people out. And I think the big thing above all else is they're so focused on all the things that they've put on their plate that you really don't get to spend much time with them.
Yeah, and they're missing out.
Right. Like with your family, the benefit of that and everybody bringing their own dish is there's a lot more quality time to be had. We all sit down together in the living room and we just talk and enjoy that time. With my family, there's usually one or two people missing. Usually my mom or dad or both are, insisting that they've got to do something in the kitchen. And, you know, there's a lack of like quality connection. And I will say there's a lot more phones and people glued to their screens. And it can be very difficult with my family because of how much stress is involved to actually like feel like you got that time.
Yeah. So ask for help.
Ask for help. That's a big one.
And number 5, create meaningful moments, meaningful memories. That is what it's all about. And if you are just stressed and like focused on the stress, you're going to miss out on the important parts of it. So, celebrate traditions, make new traditions.
Yeah.
Um do your best to like really be present and enjoy the time because it happens really fast. Like
Yeah.
I always like when Christmas Day is over, I'm always like, and that's it. Christmas is done. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think that, it can really yeah, it can definitely fly by, but I also think, don't lose sight of what it's all about. Like I don't I don't really the whole thing with Thanksgiving and Christopher Columbus and the Indians and like I don't know about all. I genuinely don't. What I know is it's a day where I spend time with my family and I'm grateful for them.
Yeah.
Um whatever the story behind it is, good or bad and politically correct, I don't know and I don't really care. I like to have the quality time with my family and it's the same thing for Christmas, same thing for New Year's. So yeah, it can fly by and I think hold on to those memories and cherish them because at the end of the day, like the holidays are what you have. Like the big thing I've started doing is every holiday I always have my camera gear and like I'll take a photo with, if it's my mom's side, my dad's side. Your family's always good about taking a photo, but with
Yeah.
my family, no one's going to do it. So I'll take my camera gear and we'll always grab a photo now. And it's nice because like it also lets me have a connection with everyone afterward where I can like say, hey, here's the photo. And, they're grateful for it. But there's also like a more continued conversation, especially with my aunts and uncles and cousins. And I think that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like was going to mention like you said like just practice gratitude during this time and that'll help you also just with staying present and focusing on what you're grateful for rather than like all of the stress components.
Yeah.
That's not to say you won't feel any stress at all whatsoever, but hopefully these tips can help you to navigate things a little easier. Remind yourself of that you can set boundaries, that you can prioritize yourself, and that you can enjoy this time more so than being stressed out.
Yeah. And don't lose sight of, what it all really is, you know, and whatever you believe in, whatever you celebrate at the end of the day, it's about being with the people you love.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as much as I love America. I think we've just totally focused so much on the capitalism and consumer aspect of it. Um, Quick story, short story. When I was a kid, um, we were house poor for a while, and most Christmases growing up, I I only had one gift. Like that was the thing for Christmas. I would get a gift, one gift on Christmas, one gift on my birthday. That was actually how my dad was raised. And as I got older, I cannot tell you how appreciative and grateful I am of that because there was never this expectation that I was going to get all these things and I had this big list and like, it didn't work like that. I was grateful and so curious to see what it would be, you know? And I think if you need a step back, maybe that's a way to do it, you know? Like buy buy your kid one gift and maybe teach them that's okay. So yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think that that was some good perspective I had in my childhood that I've looked back on a lot over the years and I'm grateful for.
No,
Anything else?
no, I think that's it.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.